ballistic missile defense, or TBMD. 5 weeks ago, when I attacked Israel with over 300 missiles. 120 of those missiles were ballistic missiles, which launch into near outer space and then come down. They're traveling at very high speed, and with 120 of them, your weapon systems had better be in very good shape. The U.S. Navy had 2 guided missile destroyers off the coast of Israel to support our ally, and 99% of those missiles were shot down. That's the kind of talent that Nicole has to plan and execute something like that. While Nicole wasn't personally involved with the defense of that attack, today she instead wields, instead of a sword, a pen. She is a speechwriter for our Secretary of the Navy, Carlos Del Toro. And I'm very happy to welcome a fellow Naval Academy grad, Surface Warfare Officer, Combat Systems Officer, and Navy vet. Ladies and gentlemen, Nicole Uchida.
Good morning, everyone. It is an absolute honor to be with you all today. As Commander Stubblefield said, my name is Nicole Uchida, and I'm a former naval officer currently serving as a speechwriter to the 78th Secretary of the Navy, the Honorable Carlos Del Toro. Homecoming is a truly appropriate theme for me. Though my career has taken me around the world and seems intent on depositing me on the East Coast, whether Annapolis, Washington, D.C., or Norfolk, I'm always grateful for the chance to return to my home, to Southern California. Yesterday I had the opportunity to tour the cemetery and honor some of the proud Americans and veterans who fought in wars throughout our nation's history, and it was an experience that I will never forget. I thank all the volunteers and organizations who contributed so much time and effort for this event today to ensure that we are able to remember those who have gone before us in defense of our nation, of our freedoms, and towards a more perfect union. Could we give them a round of applause, please? Now, I think that the most interesting thing about me right now is that I'm one of SpkR's speechwriters, and I think I was also asked to speak this morning because of that small fact. So I'll offer you a little bit of insight and perspective as a speechwriter supporting a principal like SpkR, as well as my own speechwriting process. When I'm assigned a speech, the first thing I do is research. If it's for a recurring event, I research the previous year's event, I research the audience and themes, I look for videos, press releases, anything I can get my hands on to get better context for the event. Most importantly, I found out who spoke at the previous year's event. So of course, when Commander Stubblefield asked me to speak to all of you today, I applied the same technique for the speech and did my research. Last year's speaker for this event was none other than the Commanding General of 1 MEF. Previous speakers included Vice Admiral Nora Tyson, then Commander of 3rd Fleet, the first woman to command a carrier strike group and a numbered fleet, among many other distinguished speakers. So it's not lost on me the honor of this moment. I thank you all for the incredible opportunity to speak on this very important day, a day in which we remember those in the service we have lost to battle, to illness, to suicide, and to time. To those in the audience who are serving or have served in our United States Armed Forces, I sincerely thank you for your service. My experience in the Navy was unique to me, just as it is unique to all service members, but I think we can all agree that generally, military service entails sacrifice. Thank you for answering our nation's call. To those in the audience who are family members, spouses, children, parents, or friends of our servicemen and women, thank you. Families truly are the foundation of our armed services, and I'm grateful to have my own father here with me today as my moral support, just as he was with me throughout my active duty journey. And Mayor Dunlap, thank you for being here today and for all you do for the city of Fullerton. And I also thank you for sitting next to my dad during the ceremony as I do this right now. Thank you. Earlier this month, the Secretary of the Navy traveled to South Florida for the inaugural Fleet Week Miami. I jumped on the opportunity to travel with the Secretary and the staff, not only because I'd never been to Miami before, and it's Miami, but also because over the course of 5 days, the Secretary had 15 speech engagements. I essentially wrote what my colleagues dubbed a Fleet Week Miami stump speech, and what I affectionately call the Carlos Del Toro origin story. And he has an incredible and inspiring story, which I think I could now tell in my sleep. Secretary Del Toro was born in Havana, Cuba in the early 1960s, His father was imprisoned by the Castro regime for counter-revolutionary activities. When he was 10 months old, his father was briefly released, and while awaiting parole, the family's emergency visas came through. They fled Cuba for the United States. So began Secretary Del Toro's story of service to this country, first at the Naval Academy, and ultimately leading to his current position as the highest-ranking Cuban American in the Department of Defense. I think the most amazing thing about the American experience is that incredible is commonplace. So many people come to this country with nothing but the clothes on their backs and holding on to a figment of the American dream. My family's story, I think, is no exception. My family is my purpose and also my motivation for my service. Following his college graduation in Japan, my grandfather, Roy Setsuo Uchida, was given two options: to line up for a firing squad or join the Imperial Japanese Army. He chose the latter and found himself in Manchuria, then suddenly in a gulag, or Russian POW camp, in Siberia. And there he stayed until well after the Second World War's conclusion. A stoic man, my grandfather shared little about his experiences, but raised the most resilient and empathetic man I have ever known, my dad, Hiro Uchida, a talented educator who spent his life dedicated to supporting and inspiring his students at Los Angeles Trade Technical College. My mother, Yoko Watanabe Uchida, was born the eldest of 5 children on a tiny Okinawan island called Yonaguni, made briefly and recently famous by Bad Bunny's 2021 song. She was dirt poor. She grew up in a Japan just emerging from World War II, and everyone was poor. Somehow, she managed to scrounge up the money to move to bigger islands in search of education and a better life. And in her early 20s, she saved enough money to purchase a plane ticket to the United States. My mom wanted to help people, so she found a job in LA as an au pair while studying to become a nurse. And she only recently retired from St. Jude after serving over 30 years as a nurse, hanging up her stethoscope when she was certain the suffering of the pandemic was truly waning. When I received my acceptance to the Naval Academy, I recall weighing the decision of going to school in Annapolis against attending a local UC. My older brother, Tim, a surface warfare officer who is currently serving overseas in Okinawa, Japan, was attending the Naval Academy at that time. My first thought was, well, if he could do it. What ultimately solidified my decision was my mom's quiet comment as my parents and I huddled around the dining room table with my acceptance letter. She said, "I wish I had that opportunity." And what an opportunity it was and has been for me and for those with whom I've served. I've had the opportunity to, just as the Navy advertised it, see the world. I deployed to every fleet, traveled all over the world, and executed missions I thought were purposeful. I'll share a few sea stories with you. During my first deployment on USS Stockdale in 2013, we transited the Suez Canal 10 times and the Strait of Hormuz 4 times. When we left San Diego in January 2013, we thought the deployment would only last 9 months. However, as you might recall, the Syrian civil war was escalating, so we remained on station in the Red Sea an additional 2 months, a deterrent against further humanitarian atrocities in the region. Although we didn't shoot anything down, like USS Carney, USS Arleigh Burke, or USS Eisenhower, we're ready to do so. During my first department head tour as weapons officer on USS San Jacinto, while operating off the coast of Virginia at the beginning of what we thought would be a short 2-week underway, we received a simple question from higher headquarters. How long would it take you to get to Cabo Verde? A few hours after I figured out where this country was and how long it would take us to get there, we received the order to take station. What ensued was a strange task to patrol 12 nautical miles off the coast of Cabo Verde and wait for Alex Saab, the financier to Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro, for the next 2 months. Intelligence believed that he might attempt to make his escape via water, so we were there to either capture him if he tried or deter him from doing so. Spoiler alert, we never caught him, though we did get to enjoy Thanksgiving dinner together on the ship. While I'm not a flag officer or the commander of 3rd Fleet, I've learned quite a lot in my time in the Navy. My time in military service has taught me how important the United States is, how the United States is a beacon of hope, of freedom, how much the world generally, although not always, respects us and our ideals. And my time in the military service has also taught me that this nation truly was founded on the principles of service and sacrifice, and this American experiment continues only because of our willingness to serve and our willingness to sacrifice. I want to end my remarks with a remembrance on this Memorial Day to 2 service members who are dear to me and were instrumental in making me the person I am today. My Naval Academy company mate, Captain Nick Kasich, call sign Dad Bod, United States Marine Corps, who we lost to cancer at the beginning of the pandemic, and Aegis Fire Controlman, Chief Petty Officer Aaron Chateau, United States Navy, who we simply lost too soon. I thank you all for being here today, for your support of our men and women in uniform and this great nation. Thank you for having me and for bringing me home. On this and every Memorial Day, I hope we never forget the fallen heroes who died so our nation might live. Thank you.